let me continue playing the bad cap, but actually connecting the two last questions, the question on the structural limitations and the question on how we can solve those conflicts. So if we take a step back and we think about all constitutional conflicts in the history of time, right? Moments of huge crisis, whether it's the American Revolution or the self-determination dispute of whatever, there are always two fractions in those movements: the revolutionary fraction and the proceduralist fraction. The revolutionary fraction will always say, "I don't care whether we are against the constitution. We want to establish something," and the other ones that will say, "No, we have to follow the process." So knowing the structural limitations is a way to deal with a strategy, to form a strategy. If we don't know the structural limitations, we cannot form an optimistic or a reasonable strategy. Now, and this is why I think that what you did and the Self-Determination Caucus was really important, in the sense that it was a proposal in order to deal with this kind of limitations in a procedural, reasonable way. At the same time, one has to know that precisely because we are talking about the current political constellation, to find a majority that would accept this regulation is almost, it's very difficult at this moment. So on my side, what I tried to do during the last years, being part of some of those projects, but also in my own work, is try to think in the current legal and political framework whether there is enough already, without the need of passing any kind of legislative proposal, for the EU to accommodate those constitutional conflicts, right? So what I try to do, and that also brings us to the fourth question that we're not going to deal with, but to have it in mind, is how the EU can actually accommodate this kind of self-determination disputes. And in my mind, and in my work, and here comes some self-promotion, for anyone interested, I have published a paper in the Virginia Journal of International Law, where actually I show how precisely the EU, within the EU, there is already enough to accommodate any kind of self-determination dispute is solved with a consensual and democratic way. Of course, this condition is a very difficult condition, right? Because, to have a democratic and consensual self-determination result is by itself a huge challenge. But what I'm arguing is that because precisely we are talking about a multi-level constitutional order, because precisely we are talking about a constitutional order whose very existence, scope, and aim of existence is to bring peace, because precisely the EU, nominally at least, has already vowed to respect international law, including the right of self-determination, there is enough in the legal order to actually provide for smooth transition when there is a peaceful, consensual, and democratic solution to any territorial conflict. And the EU can actually secure, assure, and guarantee the smooth transition for a region that has decided in a democratic way to become an independent state. So we don't need a regulation. A regulation would have been fantastic. I mean, it would have been a plus. There is already enough. The question is, of course, and that's always the question, the one that Jaume put, whether there is sufficient political will. At the moment, in this current political constellation, it's difficult to see it.